Okay, so inside of Twin, we are going to go down to our media tab or media button, and we are going to go to video. I'm going to go ahead and delete the two that I've already built. And let's say create video. So the video length by default is only 10 seconds. And it's really set up that way to benefit you. 10 seconds is probably too short for a typical architectural animation, but I wouldn't recommend any of you to try and do a minute long. I mean, that's sort of your sweet spot, is a minute to 90 seconds worth of video, all in a single camera path. Okay, so what we're doing is we're going to build a camera path. You want to think of this as maybe 3 to 5 different camera paths that we're going to put together. All right, so let's just assume this needs to be a little bit longer right off the bat, and let's change this to 20 seconds. So you can see right up here, I've got minutes and seconds. 20 seconds, it's a pretty good amount of time. Wherever my camera was when I hit the create video button is the first keyframe or the first location where the camera is going to start. And I can change that. Like, let's move this a little bit over to Drury Lane. Unlock in just a little bit of depth. And I can hit the refresh button right here. And you'll see it's going to change that image. And it's going to lock the camera to that position as the opening frame or the opening shot of this camera path. I can hit the plus button right here and move the camera to a new location. And let's just say for grins, I'm going to put the flag plaza right through here. So as the camera is traveling down Drury Lane, right through here, I'm starting to move the camera and focus in on what the subject matter is going to be right at that location. And I'm going to hit refresh. And it's going to give me those two. Notice it is not changing the time. Right? So the further I move the camera in 20 seconds, the faster the camera is going to go. It's a super important concept to understand. I really can't do a whole lot to control the speed in Twinmotion yet of a single camera path. It doesn't really work that way, right? So it is going to average everything out. And again, that is to your benefit. Okay, so if I want a camera that's moving slow and a camera that is moving fast, those would be two different camera paths. Okay, so I'm going to continue on. Let's add in another keyframe. Let's head down to the sidewalk and refresh, and let's swing just here in front of the trees. And forgot to add a keyframe. That's that one. And let's do one. Right about here. Okay, so I have these 4 keyframes that are going to make up a 20-second long animation. Right, so all I need to do now is hit play. And I have that file coming together for me. Super simple. And it should play that back close to the 20 seconds. So from here, I've got 2 options, right? I can go back to media, video. Let's give this one a name, rename. Let's just call this one Drury Lane 2 Quad. So I can go in and I can create another video, right? So this one might be starting here. Let's change the time to 20 seconds again. Actually, I'm going to keep this one short just for the sake of building this for the class. Okay, so that's my opening shot. And then let's kind of go up, up, up for shot 2. Or for keyframe 2, I should say. And keyframe 3. right? So I have something like this. Oh, and there's a little, see that right there? What's happening? Going through the wall, which, kind of who cares, but it also kind of looks terrible, right? Because it's literally clipping. I've got the camera literally clipping through the building, and it's definitely going to show up. It is going to render exactly like that, right? So when you have those situations, when you're watching a preview and you realize, oh, this looks really cool, except for that spot. There's a couple of things I can do. One of the easiest things to do in this case would simply be to add a new keyframe in that location. And let's move the camera forward a little bit. Refresh it. And now I've got the camera moving in front of that and then sliding back and around. Now, the worst thing you can do in this situation is to try and be so controlling of the camera that over 20 seconds or 10 seconds, you have 20 different keyframes. What it's going to do to your camera is it's going to make the camera motion very herky-jerky and something you really, really, really do not want to watch. Right? So 5 seconds, 4 seconds per keyframe is about accurate. You want the computer to help you define the speed, the curve, and build smoothness on that camera path. Okay, you really want to allow the computer to do those things for you. The more intense you get, the more micromanaging you do with the camera path, the worse it's going to be. Okay, so I've got those two different videos now. So this one would be, let's go back one and let's rename this one Bay Hall. All right, so I've got those two different videos. Now, at this point, no different than exporting a still. I can come into my video manager or my media output. I can select either one of those and hit Start Export and send them to a folder. And in about the same amount of time that it takes to play the video, it's going to export the video. Twinmotion does a remarkably good job at this, remarkably fast at putting this out. The default is 4K, so it's going to be very high resolution. The other default is it's going to be in an MPEG format, which is pretty universal. It's going to play back on just about everything. More importantly, to this part of your process, it's easily going to upload to YouTube. Now, the one thing that YouTube did to us not too long ago, YouTube was in the process of building an entire online video editor, which was really cool. They don't do that anymore. I don't know why they took that away from us, but they took it away from us. So you really can't merge clips. You can't take video 1 and video 2 and stitch them together inside of YouTube anymore, which is really annoying. You have a single clip. I can trim parts out, but I can't really bring any new parts in. I can add music to it, but I can't really do anything beyond much of that, like trim off the beginning, trim off the end, maybe trim off a little bit of the middle. If you have video editing software, you can, but that's a little bit outside of the scope of this class, so I'm not going to teach it. But what I am going to show you is Twinmotion allows you to string together multiple clips internally to build a video. So we're going to cover that next. But first, that video is done. So this was Jury Land. This Jury Land to quad. Should be Jury Land to quad. But there it is outside of Twinmotion. I'm always doing a preview, seeing how things look. Always looking for weird anti-aliasing issues, and always looking for, do I have any issues where I have coplanar geometry? Something that makes that animation path look terrible. The anomaly, right? And that looks pretty good. Looks pretty clean, pretty happy with it. Not sure that this is the right background for Jury. That's a little bit more than Springfield. So just saying. Should probably change that in your scene. Let's go back into Twinmotion. So one of the things, it is an option. You could do an entire minute-long clip. I wouldn't. Once you start getting into the 2 and 3 minute camera path lengths, it gets really tricky to manage that as a single camera path. So in a perfect world, what you're doing is you have multiple clips, you stitch them together in video editing software, you upload them to YouTube. Okay? Twinmotion fortunately assumes that not everybody has video editing software, so they do have a neat little feature in videos. And that is, if I open up, so let's open up Jury Land to Quad. Right here is a button called New Video Part. Okay, so if I select that, within this video, it builds a second camera path. So from this, I could sort of repeat that same camera path that I had. Let's keep it lower this time. With 3 keyframes. And hopefully not clipping through the building too bad. And I'm clipping through the building too bad. So let's change that right here and move it forward and refresh. Cool, so I've got that as a second camera path. Right, so I have a single video, and right now it's just going to cut from one to the other if I export this. So that's called a hard cut. Okay, if I come back to videos, and I collapse them. So this is collapse and expand the parts, right? So what I'm suggesting is you'd have 3 to 5 camera paths. Each of them has parts. Once I collapse them, I can come right here to this little trim transition, and it does something really nice for me. I can say fade to black, and what that's going to do is as I get to that part of the video, rather than it being a hard cut, just gives me a quick fade to black and fade out. As you're building these, so let's go back to expand. There's all different kinds of things that I can do within the videos as well. If I select my first clip, I can go to my location and I can change the time of day. Let's go back to the settings. Let's go to the last one. Location. And I can change the time of day. So if I come back to my videos now, I can see that this is going to go from daytime down to nighttime. Now it is only doing that within the keyframes that I set the change in. So if I wanted that to be a more subtle transition, I would need to say, well, let's make this one at 8 o'clock. Let's make this one at noon. Let's make this one at 2 and this one at 8 p.m. And it would be a little bit more smooth with a higher acceleration to nighttime at the end, right? Or I could set my first keyframe at 6 a.m., my last keyframe at 10 p.m., and then add keyframes in the middle. And it would make that a smooth transition as well. Right? I can do the same thing with weather. I can go from it being nice and sunny to snowing, which is very Ozarkian, right? Could happen today. Don't think it will, but it could. Like, we wouldn't be that shocked if it did, right? So all different types of things. I can change depth of field. I can change any number of things. When I export this, it is going to export. So I'm going to do the Jury Land to Quad. Again, export directly to my desktop. It's going to export both of those videos with the transition between them. Super simple. Okay? Yeah, I would love to say that now we're going to upload those to YouTube and we'll patch the clips together and we'll put soundtrack with it, but it's not going to happen because YouTube doesn't do that anymore. They stopped like 2015, 2016. They keep thinking that they'll add it back in, but they never do. So that said, in YouTube, I have already uploaded that video or something close to it, right? So it's right here. And I could quite simply go ahead and say that video is good enough. I'm going to bring that into my class website and it will be fine. But all y'all know me and you know Dave likes drama. I like the drama. Also, like watching a minute-long, 90-second-long architectural animation can be a little bit dry, for sure. So I would suggest adding some basic music, something to this. And so one of the things that YouTube does provide for is, so if I'm back to my channel content. This is the video that I uploaded. Once I have this selected, so I'm going to click Edit, you will see right here the YouTube video editor. This is where we used to be able to import an additional clip. Come on, YouTube, get it together. From here, what I can do, I would not add just any music to your YouTube video. You know, it just, first of all, you're going to get a copyright violation, which frankly, no one really cares that much about, but it's bad practice. Okay. If you go to a small firm, still probably nobody cares. If you break copyright laws, you shouldn't. It's the wrong thing to do. But if you're to a mid-sized to larger firm, you could find yourself in all kinds of trouble for breaking a copyright violation, right? Probably not through YouTube, probably through another source. So it's a better habit to get into to use music that you have permission to use. YouTube has a massive library. A lot of it's bad. Okay, so it's going to take you a while to find good music on YouTube. The hint, no, not really. It's like, it's not even No Doubt. Why would they call it No Doubt? That's clearly not No Doubt. I'm a little hurt that they said that. Okay, so fortunately there's a really good system here that allows you to search and filter. And so I usually go into genre because I want something cinematic, because these are, you know, movie scores have a tendency to do better with these. They're less vocal driven, which having a lot of vocals and watching architectural animation, usually not so great. And that's probably enough. Let's just start there. And this is going to give me, I don't know, certainly thousands of results, right? When I get to the end of this, it'll probably give me more. But let's just assume that lexicon is pretty good. It's not. So let's go one more filter. Kind of into it now. No, let's do one more filter here, and we can go mood, and we can do, even though it's me and I like drama, that's probably not the right thing to do. Let's add in calm, and that one, so that way what we're trying to do is get something ambient. Perfect. So with that, it's not really perfect. It's a little bit too, I don't know, you know, maybe your flag plaza has something very dreamy in its quality. So simply hitting that add button does do a really good job of sort of automating the intro and outro on the music. But now you have that. So when you hit save, it's going to combine those two pieces together. Cool. So from there, embedding that into your website. Let's go back to the video editor. Details. That is my link to the video, right? All I need to do is hit copy link. And inside of your Google site, I am doing scrolling down, and there is YouTube. Paste. Select. Resize. And I wish that this had an automatic sort of full screen thing. It really doesn't. So I always kind of have to fiddle with it just a bit to get it like that. That's embedded, ready to go. So when this goes to view the published site, that should be in place. It should not have the music with it yet. Actually, it's still processing that video. Or I haven't published it yet. Cool. So music will be on there once YouTube finishes publishing those changes. Cool. Okay. So the last part of this is inside of Twinmotion. We need to be able to turn these things into a presentation. So I'm going to click Quit Media Mode, and we are going to come down to this presentation tool right here. So when I go to create presentation, essentially what this is doing is this is saying add media. And what this allows me to do is come in. I only have 2 pieces of media currently, the Drury Land to Quad and Bay Hall. So let's go ahead and add both of those in. Drag and drop, drag and drop. Let's add in, we need to create a few more pieces of media, like let's do a few images from Twin. Create image. I should totally be naming these. I'm not, sorry. Something from here. Create image. More. Location. Oh, drama. Okay, so I've got now. I now have a couple of images, and I have a couple of videos. Cool. So if I go back into presentation mode, presentation 1, let's add in those 2 images as well. I am now ready to go to presentation mode. So if I go quit media mode, presentation 1, I can export that presentation as a standalone file. It makes a fairly monstrous file. What it's going to do is it is going to build an exe file that has the entire Unreal video game engine and all of your geometry and all those presets stored inside of it, which works great. You can give it to somebody else to view on their computer. You never really know exactly what's going to happen when you send it off to somebody else's computer, though, because it is going to, its performance is going to be based off of the quality of the computer that you send it to. So in other words, if you send this off to a client and their laptop is a 1980 something, first, it probably won't even open. But if by chance that it did, it is going to look awful. It is going to look, you know, like the worst 8-bit video game ever. Okay? So it's something, I usually don't do that. I don't like to give away my media unless I have full control over it. Something like what YouTube allows. Right? YouTube is going to play back the same visually on every system. Right? It might change the resolution a little bit, the size of the video. If you have a bad internet connection, it might like chunk in a few places. But for the most part, it is what it is. So I might do an export and show this only off of my computer, but I can also go into presentation mode. And I have to remember how to get to it, actually. It's been a while, presentation mode. It's not that. Presentation mode. I think I need to do quit media mode first. Presentation mode. Okay, let me back through that really quick. So this, I've just put Twinmotion in presentation mode, right? So all of the tools are now hidden, right? So this is ready for me. Like, I don't necessarily want my audience to see where and how I put trees in. I don't want to let people sort of behind the curtain where all the magic stuff is. I just want people to focus on this, right? So as a presentation goes, I now have my videos ready to play. I can just hit play right here. And so that's the first video. That's this one right here. Or I can switch to the Bay Hall video. Or I can switch to view 1 or view 2. And if you notice, these are not the still images that we would export. These are living things. And I can even take over any of those things and move the camera around from there as well. I can also hide all of it like that. Or I can come back and we can exit presentation mode by hitting the escape key. Okay, so let's get into that one more time, how I got rid of all of this stuff, right? So I can have all of this. I don't want to display all of this when I'm showing this to a client, right? So I'm coming to the eye. I'm going down to presentation mode and presentation mode. Oh, come on. Why is it not going back into presentation mode now? Because that's pedestrian mode. Thank you. It's this one down here. Is it this one? Thank you. Man. So I knew I needed to go back and do this one more time. It's amazing that you guys picked up on it before I did. Okay, so right down here, I have, if I have multiple presentations, right, that's going to give me my presentation list. So that went to presentation 1. I only have one presentation. It puts these across the bottom. Once I hit play, those videos are ready to go. Cool. That is what I'm looking for in terms of your live presentation on Wednesday. I don't want to see the Revit, the Twin mode. Definitely don't want to see the Revit interface. I don't want to see the Twinmotion interface. We want to be able to see this. When you are presenting, not just to a client, but like if I'm going to present my project, 3rd year, 4th year, 5th year, I have my laptop set up, this set up. I would want to have these kind of things set up and ready to go, ready to toggle through really simply. In the same way that I might have renderings on a board, I would have this. Teaching 5th year comprehensive fall, guess what's going to be in all their presentations? Yeah. Cool?